While you sleep, your body is going through an intense process of cellular regeneration. And if the tissues responsible for your vision do not receive the right nutrients during this process, they gradually deteriorate at a speed that no eye exam can detect in the early stages. This is what functional medicine calls the silent degeneration of visual function. What I'm about to show you are 4 foods that most people have never associated with eye health. They are not the classic foods everyone repeats. They are foods with specific, documented mechanisms that act directly on the structures of the eye during regenerative sleep. Write in the comments which state or region you are watching from. I want to understand where most of the people concerned about visual health are coming from and who still haven't found a real answer. The first is beef liver, not liver supplements in capsules. Real beef liver consumed as food. And the reason it is practically absent from visual health content is the same reason it was pushed out of the modern diet. The mistaken fear of dietary cholesterol and excess vitamin A created a cultural aversion to this food that is not supported by current science. Beef liver contains the highest concentration of retinol of any food on Earth. Retinol is the animal form of vitamin A, preformed, which the body uses directly without any intermediate enzymatic conversion. This is critical because the conversion of plant beta-carotene into active retinol depends on an enzyme called BCMO1, and it is estimated that between 45 and 50% of the population has genetic variations that significantly reduce the efficiency of this conversion. This means that half of the people who believe they are meeting their vitamin A needs through orange-colored vegetables are actually absorbing only a fraction of what they require. And the retina pays the price for that night after night. The retinol from beef liver is used during sleep to synthesize rhodopsin, the visual pigment that makes up the rod cells of the retina. Without enough rhodopsin, the rods cannot function properly, and the first sign of this is a growing difficulty seeing in low-light environments. A small serving of beef liver per week provides more functional retinol than months of consuming plant foods rich in beta-carotene. This is the kind of information that rarely appears in mainstream nutrition content because it contradicts decades of dietary recommendations built on studies that did not distinguish between retinol and beta-carotene. Write in the comments if you already have difficulty seeing at night or in dark environments. This specific symptom is directly connected to what I just explained. The second food is oysters. And I know it sounds like a niche food, expensive and inaccessible, but what oysters provide that no other food can replicate with the same efficiency deserves attention regardless of that. Oysters are the food with the highest concentration of bioavailable zinc on the planet, not just any zinc. Zinc in the form that the human body absorbs with maximum efficiency, combined with animal proteins that enhance its entry into the cells. Zinc in the retina has a specific function that goes beyond what is commonly discussed. It is the cofactor of the retinal alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme, responsible for converting circulating retinol into the active form that binds to opsin to form rhodopsin. Without sufficient zinc, the retinol you consumed, whether from liver or any other source, cannot complete the synthesis cycle of the visual pigment. But there is more. Oysters are exceptionally rich in taurine, an amino acid that naturally concentrates in the human retina at levels far higher than in any other tissue in the body. Taurine acts as a neuroprotector for photoreceptors, stabilizing cellular membranes against the oxidative stress generated by continuous exposure to light throughout the day. Studies in neuro-ophthalmology have shown that taurine deficiency is associated with progressive degeneration of photoreceptors, and unlike many better-known amino acids, taurine is not synthesized in sufficient quantities by the adult human body, especially under conditions of chronic low-grade systemic inflammation, which is the metabolic state of a large portion of the modern population. Sleep is when taurine acts most intensely in retinal protection because it is the moment when the body is no longer managing the active oxidative stress of wakefulness and can direct its resources towards structural repair. Comment below if you regularly consume seafood or if this is a food completely absent from your routine. Your answer will help me understand the nutritional profile of the people who follow this channel. The third food is quail eggs, specifically the yolk. And that distinction matters because the composition of quail egg yolks is biochemically different from chicken egg yolks in a way that is clinically relevant to eye health. Quail egg yolks contain a significantly higher proportion of phosphatidylcholine relative to their total weight. Phosphatidylcholine is the predominant structural phospholipid in the membranes of retinal ganglion cells, which are the neurons responsible for transmitting processed visual signals to the optic nerve and from there to the brain. The integrity of these membranes determines the speed and accuracy of visual signal transmission. Membranes with an adequate lipid composition conduct electrical impulses more efficiently. Membranes degraded by phosphatidylcholine deficiency transmit slower, less precise signals, with greater information loss. This process of membrane degradation occurs slowly and continuously throughout life, and the repair of these membranes occurs predominantly during sleep, when ganglion cells are not actively transmitting signals and can allocate energy toward structural maintenance. The phosphatidylcholine from quail egg yolks crosses the intestinal barrier more efficiently than that from other sources because it is associated with medium-chain lipids that facilitate absorption through the lymphatic system and eventual delivery to the circulation that nourishes retinal tissue. This is not a small detail. The quality of your retinal ganglion cell membranes is being rebuilt every night. The question is, with what materials is that reconstruction taking place? The fourth food is whole cod liver oil, not industrially processed cod liver oil supplements, but the oil in its closest to natural form. And the difference between the two needs to be explained because it completely changes the effect on nighttime visual health. Industrial cod liver oil undergoes refining processes that remove or destroy much of the naturally occurring fat-soluble vitamins, especially vitamin D3 and vitamin A in the form of retinol. The final product often has these vitamins added back synthetically in proportions that do not reproduce the original matrix. Whole cod liver oil, obtained through cold pressing or fermentation, preserves the complete trio: retinol, vitamin D3, and long-chain omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, in the same proportions in which these nutrients naturally coexist. This coexistence matters because vitamin A and vitamin D3 act synergistically on the nuclear receptors of retinal cells. Vitamin D3 regulates the expression of genes responsible for photoreceptor survival and the modulation of intraocular inflammatory responses. Vitamin D3 deficiency has been associated in epidemiological studies with a higher prevalence of macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy. DHA, in turn, is the predominant fatty acid in the membrane discs of photoreceptors, structures that require constant replacement because they are renewed in a continuous cycle. Every day, a portion of the oldest discs is phagocytized by the retinal pigment epithelium and new discs are synthesized. To synthesize high-quality discs, the body needs DHA available, and this renewal process occurs predominantly during sleep. When you provide your body with the trio of retinol, D3, and DHA together, as they naturally exist in whole cod liver oil, you are fueling three simultaneous mechanisms of nighttime visual regeneration at the same time. Now I want you to think about something for a moment. Beef liver, oysters, quail egg yolks, whole cod liver oil. None of these foods are new. None of them were discovered recently. Traditional cultures that maintained strong visual function into advanced age, Arctic indigenous peoples, North Atlantic coastal populations, and pre-industrial rural communities consumed these foods regularly as a central part of their diets. Early visual deterioration is not a biological inevitability. To a large extent, it is the consequence of replacing these nutrient-dense foods with processed foods that provide none of what the visual system needs to regenerate during sleep. Your body has the capacity to repair itself. It exercises that capacity every single night while you sleep. The only variable you control is whether or not you provide the raw materials that this repair process requires. Comment below which of these 4 foods you would never have associated with eye health before watching this video, and tell me what state or region you are from, because I want to understand where people are most open to this kind of health approach that goes beyond the conventional. Your vision does not have to be a story of inevitable decline. It can be a story of intelligent, consistent support based on how your body actually works. And it all starts with what you put into your body before going to sleep.